We count on our security software to be like a digital fortress, right? But what happens when that fortress, when it has unlocked doors? Today, we are breaking down a really critical security warning for one of the biggest names out there, Trend Micro Apex One.
For most of us, a message like this is just a dead end, a stop sign. But for a determined attacker, it's just the beginning. It's like an invitation to start poking around, looking for another way in. And just recently, researchers found not just one, but several gaping holes in the very software that's supposed to keep these guys out.
So, let's get into it. What kicked all this off? Well, on February 24, 2026, the cybersecurity firm Trend Micro put out a security bulletin, and it detailed multiple vulnerabilities in its Apex One platform, which, as you know, is a tool used by tons of organizations to protect their computers and servers.
And here's the thing that should really get your attention, the scope. This is not some minor bug. We're talking about multiple flaws. They're affecting both the on-premise and the cloud versions of Apex One and across both Windows and Mac. And the severity? It ranges from high all the way to critical.
Okay, so while the bulletin had a bunch of stuff in it, there are two vulnerabilities that really stand out. These are the ones that security teams are absolutely losing sleep over. We call them the keys to the kingdom vulnerabilities because they allow for something called remote code execution.
So what exactly is remote code execution, or RCE? Well, imagine an attacker finding a hidden, unlocked door to your company's server room. RCE is basically the digital version of that. It lets a complete stranger from anywhere on the planet just waltz into your system over the internet and do whatever they want. Steal data, install ransomware, you name it. And the scariest part? They don't need a password or any prior access. So just how bad are we talking here? Well, the industry uses this scoring system called CVSS. It ranks threats from 0 to 10. And these two flaws, they clocked in at a staggering 9.8. Look, on a scale where 10 is the absolute worst-case scenario, a 9.8 is basically the cybersecurity equivalent of a 5-alarm fire. It's about as bad as it gets.
Okay, so here's the really crucial part. Both of these flaws are something called a directory traversal vulnerability. Just think of it like tricking a system into letting you get into restricted folders you should never, ever be able to see. This flaw allowed an attacker, with no authentication by the way, to fool the Apex One management console, upload their own malicious files, and then just run them, giving them total control of the system.
But wait, there's more. And unfortunately, I'm not kidding. As critical as those remote flaws are, the security bulletin also pointed out several other high-severity cracks in the armor. These are flaws that pose a huge risk, but from a totally different angle.
So these other vulnerabilities are what we call local attacks. Now, unlike the remote attacks we just talked about, a local attack means the hacker has to already have some kind of foothold on the system, even if it's just as a low-level user. Here's an analogy. If RCE is a burglar picking the lock on your front door from the outside, a local privilege escalation flaw is like a low-level intern finding the CEO's password written on a sticky note. Once they're in, they can give themselves a major promotion.
And just look at the list here. It's not just one or two little things. The patch rolled out fixes for 2 high-severity privilege escalation flaws on Windows and a whopping 4 separate ones on macOS. This was not a small fix. This was a pretty major security overhaul.
Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but these are just theoretical problems that some researchers found, right? Well, not exactly. To really get why this bulletin is so urgent, you have to look at the history of attacks against this exact product. Yeah, as Bleeping Computer points out here, this is definitely not the first time Apex One has been in the crosshairs. Threat actors, the bad guys, they love to target security products. Why? Because they know if they can compromise the very tool designed to protect a network, they've basically won the game. They've done it before, and you can bet they're going to try and do it again.
And get this, the US government's own cybersecurity agency, CISA, they keep a catalog of known exploited vulnerabilities. It's kind of like a most wanted list for software bugs. As of this warning, there are already 10 different vulnerabilities related to Trend Micro's Apex product line on that list. That means these aren't just theory. These are flaws that are being actively used by hackers in real-world attacks right now.
Okay, so that's the scary news. Given how critical this is and the fact that this product is a known target, the next question is pretty obvious. What do you do right now? Well, thankfully, the path forward is very, very clear.
All right, listen up, especially if you're managing an on-premise installation of Apex One 2019. The instructions are super straightforward.
First, you've got to identify your version. Second, you need to go to Trend Micro's Download Center and get the critical patch. It's build number 14136. And third, and this is the most important part, you have to apply that patch immediately. Seriously, this is not something you put off until next week.
Now for some good news. If your organization uses the cloud-based Apex One as a service or Trend Vision One, you can actually breathe a little easier. Trend Micro has already applied these fixes to their cloud infrastructure automatically, so no action is required from you. You are already protected.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here, doesn't it? Applying this patch is absolutely critical. It closes these specific doors. But in cybersecurity, new doors and new vulnerabilities are always being discovered. It is a constant race. So the real question this whole thing brings up isn't just about this one patch, but about your whole security plan. How quickly can you react the next time a 9.8 rated vulnerability shows up? Because you know what? There will always be a next time.